proper conversation with somebody where you can share views. So that's where I'm pursuing it. I'm more and more, it's deeds, not words for me. We go out and we talk to people, and that's where we can start having a proper conversation and address the stuff around these areas that we need to address.
So will there be another conference like last Saturday's, somewhere outside London for a start?
Well, the Women's Place are very keen on organising things all over the UK, and whenever people let them, they tend to have very interesting meetings. So I think hopefully this will continue.
OK, and we won't have to give special credit to the venue plucky enough to host it. Is that?
Oh, let's
Hopefully.
keep giving credit.
Yeah, OK, all right. Yeah, let's. Helen, thank you. I appreciate Helen was in Ireland, is in Ireland, so it was slightly difficult for her to get involved, but thank you very much. I hope she feels that she got a fair crack of the whip there, and Sophie, thank you very much to you as well. In coming weeks, we're going to go back to the themes of sex and gender, and we will look at all sides of that debate, and you can get involved. It's not social. Well, I am, yes, I was about to say it is social media. I'd like you to tweet about this if you want to contact us this morning. But the Woman's Hour social media feed is a lot more refined and far more sensible-ish than most others. At BBC Woman's Hour on Twitter and Instagram. Every single day a man tweets to ask why there has to be a Woman's Hour. Every single day, Sophie. When is that going to stop?
Well, do you know what? I think probably it's not, and that's probably why you need to have a Woman's Hour.
Thank you, Sophie. Thank you. That's kind of my thinking as well. Thank you very much. Now, The Gift is a play I mentioned at the start of the programme, inspired by a story I hadn't heard of a woman called Sarah Forbes Bonnetta. Her real name was Amoba Aina, and she was born in 1843, and she was a Yoruba princess taken into slavery, released to the lieutenant commander of the HMS Bonnetta, hence her name, and then offered as a gift to Queen Victoria. Now, this play, The Gift, is set in both 1862 and the present day. It's written by Janice Oko. Janice, welcome to the programme. And also here, Dawn Walton, who's the director and founder of the Eclipse Theatre Company. You directed this play, didn't you?
I did.
And you actually founded Eclipse.
I did.
All right, we're going to hear a short clip from the play. Here we go.
How do you have your tea? As the hostess, you must be the heartbeat of the conversation. You mustn't ever let it go flat, because it's your responsibility entirely as to whether it will be a failure or a success, and there will be talk of the unkind variety if the former. Remember, if there is a guest who begins to lead, which is clearly an indication of ill breeding, you should allow him or her to have their way, but you must regain your position as hostess at the very next opportunity.
How do you have your tea, Mrs. Davis?
Your Majesty, do you think Africans can be more?
More than what?
More than what you say we can be.
One can only be what one is capable of being. No more, no less.
Now, in the early part of that clip, Sarah was teaching her servant Aggie how to serve tea. It's the first scene in the play, isn't it, Janice? And it is quite comic in some ways, but also quite unsettling. Mm-hmm. Was that your intention?
Well, I think it's interesting because you see two black women and you're not sure who they are. So I think that's unsettling. You normally think they're servants.
Well, that's right.
Not.
I couldn't work out what was going on here.
Yeah.
Anyway, sorry, carry on.
Yes, and then from then you get to see who Sarah really is and the relationships. So yeah, I thought it was I think it's very intriguing and keeps the audience, guessing.
Yeah. Now, Dawn, you directed this play and you founded the Eclipse Theatre Company because stories were missing. British theatre just wasn't presenting the stories of our population properly.
Yeah. As a lot of things I do, it's born out of frustration. And Revolution Mix, in particular, this movement, was really about taking on the single narrative that was being shared in theatre for black stories. There was a kind of a narrative which essentially said you were slaves, and then there was this lovely chap called Wilberforce, stopped it all, we disappeared off Britain's landscape, we arrived back on a ship called Windrush, and now all our grandchildren are gangsters. And that's kind of the narrative, and it was very frustrating. That conversation was bubbling massively amongst black artists. And the second thing that happens, I think, as well in the sort of British narrative, black British narrative, is that the idea that black stories come from somewhere else. They don't happen.
They're not our own.
They're not our stories. So they would invariably come from, a sophisticated, narrative on race. You'd have to go to America for that story. And of course, it's wrong. And then the third thing is we don't know our own history because so much of our own British history has been erased. So that's part of the reason why people kind of lose their minds when somebody of colour is in a costume drama.
Yeah, well,
because the belief is that we didn't exist then.
And I confess that's what I was confused about at the beginning, and I should know better, but you're part of the attempt to teach me better. Janice, how easy was it or not to find out about Sarah, who's at the heart of this story?
Yeah, it was difficult because... where did I start my research? I had Queen Victoria's diaries, but there were only a few bits in there. She had some letters, which was really good. So she'd written letters to Mrs. Phipps, people in her world, so you could paint that world. There was one book that was written that was based on her letters, her correspondence. And there was also press, actually, because they were really famous. She was really, really famous, like as famous as the royal family. So there was lots of stuff about her.
This is what I'm interested in. Was she used in a way, or was she sort of trotted out to illustrate the benevolence of Queen Victoria? What was going on?
From the press, I didn't see it like that. I think she was just, a famous person. I didn't get that from my research.